Good morning, scholars. My name is T Letsoalo, your lecturer for the module SED2601 or Sociology of Education. Today, I'd like us to go through the approach of assignment 2, which we've already started or we're already working on. I'm just going to guide you as to how you are expected to approach this assignment. For question 1, society. The word education is derived from the Latin word educere, which means to bring out that which is within. Education is the act or process of imparting or acquiring general knowledge, developing powers of reasoning and judgment, and preparing individuals intellectually for mature life. Moreover, education is not static, but a dynamic and ever-changing process. It also serves as a form of socialization. It is the means through which knowledge and learning skills are acquired for the purpose of servicing society and maintaining order. It is a form of learning that is transferred from one person to another, leading to individual growth intended to serve the society's needs. Question 1. Sociology of education includes 2 disciplines: sociology and which tries to explain society or human interactions, groups, institutions, our relationship within the environment, and how society works. Education is a system or an institution which is part of society. In South Africa, for instance, education is in general formal. Like children go to school and follow a specific curriculum. Furthermore, there are state schools and private schools in the South African education system. Therefore, sociology of education combines the study of society and schools and looks at how schools in society work or function. So, sociology is the umbrella theory. 1.3, explain what is meant by the following terms or concepts. The first one is macro-sociological. Macro-sociological approaches concern the bigger picture of society. When you are taking a macro perspective, you are looking at, for example, large groups in society, such as the working class, middle class, or the elite class. Another example is gender. Now, you'll be talking of a macro approach by examining the gendered role of boys and girls in schools and society. Functionalism and conflict theory are associated with macro-sociological approaches. The second concept is the micro-sociological. Micro-sociological approaches are concerned with smaller groups and the interactions between the individuals or small groups in society. Like the interaction between the teacher and the learners in a classroom, or the interaction between parents and the principal of a school. This particular perspective or approach is associated with sociological theory of symbolic interactionism. One of the aims of new social patterns is the formation of citizens who are aware of their social responsibility. Briefly discuss how this aim could be taught in the classroom. Learners can be taught how to make friends, respect others, assist and comfort others where necessary. In other words, they can learn to participate in group activities, thereby learning about teamwork, socializing, and allocating tasks amongst each other during learning activities. Furthermore, they learn to develop self-confidence and make valuable contributions in society. Then you can also give other relevant explanations or examples. 1.5, identify the main ideas of functionalist theory in relation to schools in society. From a functionalist theory point of view, schools socialize students so that they are able to adapt to the economic, political, and social institutions in society. Secondly, schools are serving the manifest function. They function according to a clear set of arrangements by teaching traditional school subjects. Furthermore, functionalism sees schooling as having clear and obvious intellectual purpose. Schooling can be observed as serving the latent or the less visible function of producing people who share the basic economic, political, and cultural practices and norms of society. The school is vital for the society's continuation and survival. Furthermore, functionalists suggest that we regard social institutions as analogous to parts of the body, meaning each function serves the needs and purpose of the whole, with socialization as the most important task in any society. Question 2.1. According to functionalism, what are the manifest and latent functions? Define these concepts. Give examples of manifest and latent function in school. Also apply the concepts and use your own example. Manifest functions. Manifest functions are intentional and obvious as they can be seen, like attending cultural functions as a way of transmitting knowledge and skills about culture, or attending a church, mosque, temple, or synagogue for worship as part of a religious community. Conveying basic knowledge and skills for the next generation. Schools function according to a clear set of arrangements by teaching traditional subjects. You can also give other relevant examples in this regard. Now, let's now have a look at the latent functions. Latent functions are unintentional and not obvious, such as schools educate children. Furthermore, they also provide other roles, such as babysitting and entertaining learners while their parents are at. Latent functions may help members learn to distinguish personal values from institutional values. There are other latent roles of education, such as transmission of core values and social control. For instance, schools produce people who share basic economic, political, and cultural practices and norms in society. You can also give other examples. Question 2.2. According to functionalists, what do schools provide for learners that families cannot provide? Schools impart knowledge, skills, and values which are transmitted formally and systematically to learners. And schools are also responsible for teaching basic skills such as functional literacy and numeracy. And they're also responsible for teaching of knowledge and skills needed for specific jobs and the development of skills in critical thinking, which prepares the individual to live in society. The education given to individuals should contribute to their total development, should also prepare them to be productive members of the workforce and teach them how to align themselves with values and expectations of society. Two 2.3, discuss from a functionalist perspective on how schools transmit norms and values to learners. Provide a school-based example of this transmission. It is imperative first and foremost, to define the meaning of the concept consensus on norms and values. This means that for a society to work or function, its citizens need to agree on certain ways of behaving and on their value systems or morals, so to say. Like most people in society agree or have consensus that school play a good role in that children become literate and develop certain skills. Most people agree that murder is immoral and should have consequences. The argument is that if we agree on these issues, society works better than if we are divisive. Any relevant position or example on whether schools have or do not have agreement on norms and values will be accepted. There is an argument that schools share moral values and learners are encouraged to tell the truth, not to steal, and so on. The other argument might be that schools are so unequal that it is difficult to have a common value system. 2.4. What criticisms can be directed towards functionalist theory? Give an example of one criticism in relation to South African schools. Functionalism encourages the maintenance of the status quo, meaning society staying the same. It also encourages society's members to accept inequalities as normal instead of questioning them. Functionalism does not always play a role in encouraging people to change society. In fact, social change is often frowned upon. Most societies are multicultural, and functionalism, with its emphasis on shared norms and values, could lead to certain cultures being marginalized. Functionalists argue that all learners have equal opportunities. However, because of social class differences, some learners are more privileged than others. The education system gets all people to accept the state of affairs by instilling in learners the universally accepted values of equality, of opportunity, meritocracy, and achievement is seen as positive outcome. Functionalism does not mount a convincing critique of inequalities in society. Question 3.1. What does conflict theory argue about the role of schools in capitalist society? Start your answer. Conflict theory argues that. Conflict theory argues that education is a social practice that is supported and utilized by those in power to maintain their dominance in the social order. Furthermore, education promotes the battle between the rich and the poor, the workers and the capitalists, and the powerful and the powerless. They believe schools are like battlefields where students struggle against teachers, teachers against administrators, and so on. The education system is regarded as a tool that is used to prepare the lower classes to become obedient workers of the capitalist economy. For instance, students are prepared to become compliant workers and encouraged to accept authoritarian values. So, education is a means of maintaining power structures and creating submissive workforce for capitalism. Therefore, education maintains social inequality and preserving the power of those who dominate the society. Education classifies students along distinct class and ethnic lines. Moreover, education trains people in the working class to accept their position as lower class members of the society. Question 3.2. How does conflict theory differ from functionalism? Conflict theory maintains that conflict is inevitable amongst the individuals and groups within society because of different amounts of material and non-material resources available to them, such as the wealthy versus the poor. According to conflict theory, when individuals and groups have more power than others, they are likely to use this power in order to exploit groups with less power. This is evident in South Africa, for example, where there are endless squabbles between the haves and the have-not. This was the cause of strikes in the South African society in recent years. Furthermore, conflict theory argues that schools promote inequalities. Conflict theorists argue that equality is impossible simply because schools themselves are unequal. They suggest that working class learners go to working class schools, which are often poorly equipped with large class numbers, and middle class learners go to middle class schools, which are better equipped with small class numbers. Schools are an important tool to maintain power and class differences in society. In contrast, Functionalism theory focuses on the functional contribution that society's contribution is part of the society's parts or subsystems to make each other and to the maintenance of these parts for the sake of the stability and the equilibrium of the society as a whole. Moreover, functionalism does not question why society is stratified and unequal. This is because functionalism encourages the maintenance of the status quo, society staying the same. It also encourages society's members to accept inequalities as normal instead of questioning them. Functionalism does not always play a role in encouraging people to change society. In fact, social change is often frowned upon. Most societies are multicultural, and functionalism, with its emphasis on shared norms and values, could lead to certain cultures being marginalized. Functionalists stress that all learners have equal opportunities. However, because of social class differences, some learners are more privileged than others. Functionalism doesn't mount a convincing critique of inequalities in society. 3.3. Discuss the neo-Marxist interpretation of schooling. Schools play a vital role in legitimizing the inequalities in society, in the sense that schools are responsible for transmitting knowledge in accordance with the power elite's interest. So certain knowledge, such as social class awareness, ethical superiority, gender difference, is transmitted through hidden curricula. Language and culture are embedded within the formal curriculum and are used by the power elite to transmit their interests. Power elites control schools, religious communities, and other media in order to maintain the social power. So this results in competition between interest groups within the education system. Further, competition leads to volatility, with the present possibility of major disruption. It also puts schools into a state of disequilibrium. For example, teachers are threatened with the loss of jobs because of lack of discipline. Furthermore, authority is threatened by learners, parents, and school boards for failing to maintain order. 3.4, explain how conflict theorists see the role of the family. Conflict theory argues that there are inequalities amongst the dominant group and all the other groups in every society. So these inequalities are evident when we look at the power structures of wealth, power, and status in society, family plays a role as a vehicle to maintain patriarchy and social inequality in society. This is evident in most parts of Africa where the traditional family system is practiced. In most cultural groups, the system is patriarchal in nature, which contributes to inequality between females and males. The family becomes a social arrangement that benefits men than women. It allows men to maintain a position of power. Discuss criticisms of conflict theory. Conflict theory assumes that everything benefits the ruling class only. Another criticism is that the working class is portrayed as a group that is not aware of its subordination. Furthermore, when the ruling class sets norms and values, the working class doesn't rebel against them. The theory does not explain how the individual is affected, and critics object to the deterministic nature of this model. So those are the criticisms of conflict theory. Question 4. Identify 3 principles of symbolic interactionism and discuss how you as a teacher would apply these principles. So in this case, you're expected to give only 3, but I've covered almost all of them here. First and foremost, human beings have the capacity for thought. As we all know, human beings are able to think as creatures. The capacity for thought is shaped by social interaction. Usually, when we think, our thinking is influenced by the social interaction in the environment or the context, so to say. In social interaction, people learn the meanings and the symbols that allows them to exercise their distinctively human capacity for thought. And also, meanings and symbols allow people to carry on distinctively human action and interaction. This simply means our interactions and thinking are linked. You cannot be able to interact without thinking and vice versa. So those 2 actions do pair. People are able to modify or alter the meanings and symbols on the basis of their interpretations of the situation. We interpret things differently based on the environment or the situation. You cannot interpret things the same without having a look at the context or the environment around you. As such, our interpretation is based on the context that we find ourselves in. People are able to make modifications and alterations because of their ability to interact with themselves first. This interaction with themselves allows them to examine possible courses of action, assess their relative advantages and disadvantages, and then choose one. So in the real sense, when we make decisions, we do that based on our thinking. And when we think based on what is happening around us. So the thinking, the interpretation, and at the end, choosing the best option or the solution to the situation is based on how we think as human beings. The intertwined patterns of action and interaction make up groups and societies. Due to interaction, we are able to intermingle with other groups and societies because we are human. That is why we are able to take such actions. 4.2, define the concept social placement within the school context. Social placement refers to the process of using education to improve one's social standing. Schools confer their own social identity on learners and have their own criteria to measure and promote upward social stability. For instance, during the first year of schooling, that is where children begin to be exposed to sorting and grading, assessed and classified according to their level of intelligence. That is where some learners are identified as being bright and motivated. Others are identified as less bright and need special support. Learners are taught at a level that suits them according to the pace which they are capable of proceeding. Learners who are bright and motivated early are better educated and prepared for their future. Whereas learners who are less intelligent are brought at a low speed. Education is at times held responsible for lowering the learning pace of learners who have been identified as making slow progress. So the school determines what career paths learners can follow later in life through different groupings that are available for them. Learners are sometimes discouraged from enrolling for certain subjects, groupings, owing to their previous poor performance in those subjects. Four point three. What is the hidden curriculum? Provide two examples of the hidden curriculum in the classroom. The hidden curriculum includes all unrecognized and unintended knowledge that is conveyed in schools. The hidden curriculum contains knowledge learned in schools that is not in the formal curriculum, such as when learners learn certain beliefs and values through the hidden curriculum, such as respecting authority. Learners also learn how to behave towards other learners through the hidden curriculum. Classroom activities are often gender-based. Girls do certain tasks and boys others, such as girls sweeping the classrooms while boys are shifting desks. Those are the different tasks that we know are done by girls and boys in class. This is all part of the hidden curriculum. Four point four. Choose one of the three theories covered in Sociology of Education: Functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. Discuss why your chosen theory provides the best explanation of schools in South Africa. For this particular question, scholars, you were expected to choose one of the three theories and base your argument on that. So I'll go through all of them to cover the broad spectrum or the full parameters in this case. Firstly, let's have a look at this from a conflict theory point of view. The theory provides the best explanation of schools in South Africa because of the existing inequalities in society. We are aware that there are different classes in society, such as the lower, middle, and the upper class, which also applies to schools. So conflict theory argues that schools promote inequalities. Moreover, conflict theorists argue that equality is impossible because schools themselves are unequal. They also suggest that working class learners go to working class schools, often poorly equipped schools with large numbers, and middle class learners go to middle class, better equipped schools with small class numbers. Schools are an important tool to maintain power and class differences in society. Now, let's have a look at it with a functionalist theory lens. In this instance, the theory provides the best explanation for schools in South Africa because of the existing democracy in society. Functionalists argue that schools provide equal opportunities for all learners. There's free movement of members of society from one class to another. So members of society can make choices in order to make difference in their living standard, such as working harder to move to the other status level. Furthermore, according to functionalist theory, education serves to socialize students so that they can be able to adapt to the economic, political, and also social institutions of their society. To add on that, functionalists are of the view that education is making a beneficial contribution to an ordered society. It also serves in the manifest function of functioning according to a clear set of arrangements by teaching traditional school subjects. Education serves the latent or the less visible function of producing people who share basic economic, political, and cultural practices and norms of society. Moreover, functionalists claim that education classifies students based upon merit. Now, let's focus now from a symbolic interactionist theory point of view. The theory provides the best explanation of schools in South Africa because of the social interaction in society. There are links between symbolic interactionist theory and classrooms through constructivist learning. Constructivist learning means that all humans construct knowledge and meaning from their experiences. Furthermore, constructivists argue that knowledge is personally constructed, but socially mediated. This emphasizes the importance of the world knowledge, beliefs, and skills that a person acquires through interaction with other people. An individual brings existing knowledge which has been developed by experience to learning. Like students use their existing knowledge in constructivist classroom to engage with their peers. Their actions and reactions to peers and their ideas in cooperative environments are connected to the symbols that they hold for objects in the environment. Now, these symbols are part of their existing knowledge and allow them to exercise their ability to think. It is difficult to embrace learning environments without factoring in symbolic interactionism as a vital component. Question 5. Discuss the role of the family as a social institution. A family is at the center of social life. It passes on generational traditions, and provides family members with a home, sense of belonging, and an identity. To add on that, parents instill general traditions and ensure that ethnic culture and in-group cohesiveness is maintained in the family. Children's decisions to maintain their ethnic culture and in-group cohesiveness are influenced by other members of the family. Their legal and cultural rights and responsibilities that members of the group are expected to conform to, as spelled out in formal laws and informal traditions. For instance, the Zulu royal family's values and customs have been passed down to generations. This is evidenced by the current Zulu king who still follows the tradition. For example, the reed dance and the practice of polygamy practiced by his forefathers. Reproduction is an essential function of the family, as it ensures that children are born into a family and can be socialized into upholding that family's values and fulfilling the needs of the society. The family provides the society with new members. Moreover, the family plays a dual role as a public institution as well as a private relationship. The attitudes, behaviors, and experiences of family members are formed by social forces operating in the society. The family also serves an important function within the larger society, in the sense that it has the responsibility of transmitting the society's ways of life, beliefs, norms, and values to younger members. Further, culture is regarded as an important aspect of society by many people. It is believed that without culture, society would not survive, as there will be too much divergence from the norms, and stability of the society would be disrupted. (5.2) discuss the role of the economy as a social institution. The economy and society are interlinked in the sense that modern society depends on the economy for survival. The economy refers to a set of arrangements by which a society produces, distributes, and consumer goods and services and other resources for the community. The economic system propagates the transfer of material. There are two dominant economic systems, the capitalism and the socialism system. In a capitalist system is where private ownership controls the country's trade and industry. Whereas in a socialism system, the means of production are owned and controlled by the government or community or collective ownership. The systems ensure economic stability, but are structured differently. Like different countries subscribe to different economic systems. According to Bronfenbrenner, what is the microsystem in a society? A microsystem is a pattern of activities, social roles, and interpersonal relationships experienced by the developed person in a given face-to-face setting, with particular physical, social, and symbolic features that invite, permit, or inhibit engagement in sustained, progressively more complex interaction with the immediate environment. Examples include family, school, peer group, and workplace. 5.4, according to Bronfenbrenner, what is the chronosystem? A chronosystem encompasses change or consistency over time, not only in the characteristics of the person, but also of the environment in which the person lives, such as changes over life course in the family structure, employment place of residence, or the degree of hecticness or the ability in daily life. .5, the ecology of a school can also be termed a classroom climate. Define what is meant by the school climate. A school climate refers to an environment whereby the school and the community are partners in the society for the learners and the society, or any other relevant explanation. 5.6, draw on your own school experience and provide an example of a school climate. For this particular question, scholars, some were thinking of the concept draw as meaning you draw a picture or a diagram or an image. In this instance, the concept draw means argue your point of view based on your own school experience. An example of a school climate refers to good relations between the community, school, and other stakeholders, such as relations between the Department of Education, SGB, the school, the staff, learners, and community members. In other words, this is a cooperative effort of all stakeholders in the school. You are also allowed to give your own view or any other relevant explanation in this regard. This is the end of assignment 2. Dear scholars, I believe you have a picture of how you expected to approach this particular assignment, and I believe this will benefit you. Thank you very much for your time and attention.